Well, welcome to the BNI Effect, the home of amazing conversations with Brisbane BNI members, sharing tips on how you can get the most out of your BNI membership. I'm Tony Meredith, and ordinarily I'm a business coach, but today I'm your host and fellow BNI member, bringing you another amazing BNI conversation. This is episode number 57, and today's special guest is Nick Parry. G'day, Nick. How are you going?
G'day, Tony. I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast.
Hey, thank you for being here. Let's kick it off by you telling us a little bit about who you are and also what's the business and the services that you provide.
As I say, I'm Nick Parry. I'm in BNI Aurora. I own and operate a company called Weatherproof Restorations. Effectively, what I am, I'm a roof tiler by trade. We specialise in fixing roofs, cleaning roofs and painting roofs. And we've got a great team of fully qualified roof tilers and painters that work with us. So we don't do painting as such. It's more concentrated on the roofing side of things.
Okay. And how long have you been in business for?
This incarnation, I think I'm up to around about 9 or 10 years. I've been a roof tiler for 30 years, been involved in multiple different businesses, and yeah, here we are.
And how many's in your team, mate?
Right now we have, I think, about 17 all up, 17 or 18 in our system. So yeah, we've grown to that over the last 8 years, mainly through the love of BNI helping me get to where we are.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a moment. Where are you based, Nick?
Okay, so we're based in Brisbane, in Brendale, on the north side. We do service pretty much anything from the Sunshine Coast down to the Gold Coast and sort of most of the way out to Toowoomba. So that whole southeast Queensland corner.
Okay,
So
and did demand pick up for you post the cyclone with all the rains and with all the water finding away? So I'm gathering by your response the answer is yes.
Absolutely. February 22 was probably our busiest time when we had a metre of rain in 4 days. That was fantastic. For business, terrible for a lot of homeowners. I saw a lot of devastation. Of course, we had Springfield Lakes 5 years ago with the hailstorm that went through there, so that was pretty incredible. Alfred definitely is up there with how busy we are. The phones just don't stop. They keep going. I've got one here on silent next to me flashing away. So it's crazy, which is good. A lot of people know about us and they trust us. So,
which is amazing, right? So you alluded to BNI, and obviously this is the BNI Effect podcast. So how and when were you introduced to the world of BNI?
Okay, so BNI itself, I was introduced when I did live in Darwin for about 4 or 5 years. I was introduced up there by a wonderful lady. I still keep in contact with her. She was the president of a chapter up there, and I loved the idea of what it was. It just wasn't for me at the time. 8.5 years ago, I was introduced to BNI Aurora. And as many people that are listening would know, I sort of have tried to make myself a bit of a presence in BNI by doing clownish, silly things here and there and having a bit of fun with it, because life can't always be serious. But the one thing that I've sort of really gotten with our BNI chapter being Aurora, and the one thing that I really felt at the start was the love in the room. So when I did go and visit all those years ago, I did feel the love in the room. Great big chapter, really friendly faces, and so about eight and a half years. So
you touched on some clownish, funny things. Give us an example of some of the things you're talking about, Nick.
Oh, okay. Fit for podcast use only, right?
Yes, correct. PG, please. Yes.
So we have our meetings on a Wednesday morning, and I'm probably not one of the skinniest blokes out there. And I just happened to be on a roof on Tuesday, and it was a hot, sunny Tuesday. And me being me, I was a little bit silly, and I forgot my sunscreen. Now, we'll whisper that one, because when my wife hears this, she's going to give me a clip anyway. And fair enough, too. I was at the chapter meeting on the Wednesday morning. This is about 5 years ago. And I looked over to one of my friends that was actually in the chapter, and I said to him, look, I'm going to get you to record this because I'm going to do something a little bit silly. And he said, oh, God, here we go. This is, another Nick prank. I was all ready to go, and I took I stood up and I said, good morning, everyone. And, in a BNI room, everyone's sort of having their first coffee, and it's normally a bit of a mumbled quiet, oh, good morning, everyone. Oh, that didn't do it for me. I really wanted to hype the room up. So I said, I asked everyone to say good morning. Here's your punishment. I whipped my shirt off. Now, the whole idea of me actually going into whipping my shirt off was to display the sunburn that I had and the damage that your roof goes through the process of, the Queensland sun. However, what I actually managed to do was create a bit of a name for myself. I'm a bit of a clown, a bit of a larrikin. I took my shirt off. Everyone in the room was absolutely pissing themselves laughing. It was great. It was funny. You've actually had a guy on this podcast as well that was sitting next to me. He was the bookkeeper in the room, Gary. And I handed him the microphone. I looked at him and I said, well, Gary, follow that. He stood up. He couldn't. He had nothing to say. He mumbled the first couple of sentences, and he turned around. He said, "Oh, I'm just," because everyone was still laughing, and it was a bit of fun. We really had a lot of fun that morning. And funny thing is, Tony, every time I stand up now and I say good morning, BNI, the whole room says good morning, and I think it's in anticipation that they don't want me to take my shirt off. So a little bit of larrikin behaviour for you.
Very good. Thank you for sharing, mate. Now you were sharing with me off air that when you first went to BNI. So just share with the viewers and the listeners that story.
Yeah. So I first went to BNI, and I was extremely nervous when I first went in the room. I didn't know anyone in the room. I was in a room of 50 to 55, I think we were at the time. Really, really good speakers, very confident in what they did, knew exactly what they were doing. And I'd never done any more. Like, I can talk, but I'd never really done any more than, a room of 10 people and telling some funny kind of prank. I remember years ago at school, I was in front of 1,600 people and had to say something, but, that was 20 years earlier, and I didn't care at 14 or 15 years old. I walked into the BNI room and I was daunted by, even just standing up and saying my name. I was the shakiest guy in the room. And in 8 years, I've never seen anyone else come through that's actually been as worried as I was that first few meetings. What I actually did, I started writing down everything. I got better and better, but that very first meeting when I was actually a member and I stood up and I fumbled my way through my first 45 seconds, of course, I went over time. Now, we had Marilyn was president at the time, and we had someone else in the secretary treasurer chair who actually bought a gong. And we've all got the timer that goes off and, a bell, or, you get told to sit down, basically. Well, this was a gong like Red Simon's on Hey Hey It's Saturday. And I got gonged, and it made my nervousness go from an 11 all the way up to, a 20 out of 10. I just couldn't do it. And I sat down and I thought, oh, have I done the right thing? I don't know. And now, as I say, here's the thing, Tony, 3 years later, I was taking my shirt off in the same room with an absolute confidence of, let's just make this happen. I was president of BNI Aurora 18 months ago. I think I finished. So I was president. I've been on membership committee. I've done all the roles, and now I stand up in the room and look, to be honest, and I know it's not the right way to do it, but I'm so confident in what I do and how I speak and how I'm able to present myself. Last week I had my presentation. Now, you touched on the fact that I may be busy. Yes, I'm very busy at the moment, Tony, and I really didn't have a lot of time to think through my presentation. As I was walking up to the front of the room for my presentation, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about. Now, I've got, your elevator pitch. I basically just expanded on that, what my best referral is and how to go from there. So the confidence levels between when I started to where I am now are chalk and cheese. And the best part about being able to do that and being able to get up there is the support that I've got from the room. They're my friends. You know, I love the guys that are in the room. I love to try and help them. People come to me for advice. And look, some BNI chapters can be a little bit quiet and, you know, a little bit to themselves and, you know, a bit in-house. And the one thing that I try and do when I'm in our chapter, and even when I go and visit other chapters, I try and liven it up. I try and tell a joke. I try and, you know, I like the fact that we do that in our chapter. It's actually quite exciting. It leaves nothing on the table, and, you know, we just have a bit of fun with it. So yes, we're following the process. We're doing it all correctly. However, when it comes to the fun of BNI Aurora, it's just something that I think that I've sort of helped. You know, I'm not going to get a big head over it, but I think I've sort of tried to help push it in that direction with, you know, a lot of great people. And, you know, we've sort of worked to get the chapter really good and really fun. So, which I think it should be about.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because there's plenty of chapters across Brisbane, about 35 chapters in total. And even though they're all following the same process, the same operations manual, they've all got their own personality. And it sounds like your chapter, Nick, is a whole lot of fun. And you seem to be, you know, up the front of that ship, steering it with all the fun, the jocularity, etc.
Well, there are a few other clowns in our chapter, which helps. See, I see myself as a bit of a clown. Look, as I said at the start of the podcast, you can't take life too seriously. And if you're trying to impress 100% of people in the world, you're going to be banging your head against a brick wall. I really try to get in. I try to make the connections with the people that are in the room, and I really try to connect on a deeper level. And sometimes, you know, for some people that is comedy, for some people it is a D&M, and for some people it's a beer or a glass of wine. Now, I try and do all of them. I try and be the all-rounder, but at the same time, you know, I am who I am, and I leave nothing on the table. I really try and get out there and show my personality and, you know, take certain things seriously. But BNI, yes, I take it very seriously because it's helped me grow into a massive business. However, you know, I've got to have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
got to have fun.
Well, you got to be yourself, all right? So, you
Yeah.
know, hats off to you, mate, for doing that. Now, you talked about your confidence and how, you know, you started off and you were a quivering mess to, you know, where you've sort of got to over the years. What do you attribute that to? Because we get, you know, plenty of people who join a chapter and they too are nervous. So what's some of the secrets for you in building your confidence, Nick?
Look, the things for me were, and I've sort of, as I go through the incarnations of the chapter, and, you know, your chapter gets bigger and smaller, and you lose people and gain people, and as we go through the different incarnations, I'm finding myself like in a situation now. We've just gone through a growth phase, and there's probably about 10 people that I just haven't had a chance to sit down, have a one-to-one with them. I've also been, you know, very concentrating on the business, very much so. And the one thing that I actually sat there and thought about, and funnily enough, Tony, it was only a few weeks ago, I was sitting there thinking about this, was I haven't been to many of the social events that we do. A lot of the social events are really good in terms of getting to know your fellow, you know, member of BNI, and you get to know them on a deeper level. And when you get to know people, yes, one-to-ones are great. You know, the system is there for a reason, and it works for a reason really well. But when you're actually talking to people with a beer in hand, or you're out, you know, out the back, or having a glass of wine, you know, it might not be your favorite thing, but, you know, that's what I do. And you get to know people on a deeper level, and you get to really enjoy the company of different people. And there's friends in there that you just don't realize are friends until, you know, you can connect with them out of the room and out of the scene of BNI, and you're not necessarily following, you know, following a process. You're just getting to know who they are. And when I first joined, as I say, I didn't know anyone. A couple of BNI parties later, and a couple of Uber rides, and my wife not being happy with me at 3 o'clock in the morning. And hey, I've got a really great friendship group. But, you know, it really did take that in the early years to get to know the people in the chapter. And that's one thing for me, just getting to know the people that are there. You know, no one's going to bite. everyone is really friendly in general. I mean, we're in business. We're trying to help each other. Of course, you're going to get the people that come up and try and jam a business card down your throat. And look, that's all part of it as well. But the thing is, when you go out and you relax and you actually chat to them, that's where it comes down to. So I've got some really, really amazing friends out of BNI over the years.
Well, ultimately, it's about building relationships. It's about
It
building
is.
that relationship of know, like, and trust. And you really get to know, like, and trust people when you're out and about, when the guard's down, when you're just being yourselves out on a Friday night, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing at 3 a.m. But you're really building the relationships of know, like, and trust. So good on you, Nick. That's amazing. How do you measure the success of your participation in BNI?
Look, there's definitely a few different ways of measuring that. Obviously, the first one is the app, in terms of a practical way of actually looking at your numbers, looking at one-to-ones, and, have I been successful in this? I think for me, being asked to be president personally of Aurora, the chapter of the year running from 2018 to, I think we just won it at the BNI One Awards last month as well.
Congratulations. Yep, well done.
Thank you. Yep. I mean, obviously, that all sort of helps, but being asked to be president for me was one that, that's sort of a tick in my book. I was so honored. I couldn't believe that, I was asked for that. But also not in that. It's funny because I have, there's certain people that are in our chapter that I have a mutual friendship base on Facebook. On Facebook it says, you have 5 mutual friends with this person. Most of the people in BNI, I have around about 250 to 300 mutual friends with people in BNI. And when you look at that, it's not only the 50 people that are in your room. I've been there for 8 years. Every year, you might lose 5 or 10 and you gain another 5 or 10. Then you lose 15 and you gain 15 or 20. It's funny how many people you actually, and then you've got your visitors in the room. I think last meeting, I think I saw we had 170 visitors in the last 12 months, which is incredible numbers. And, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Tony, but I think it's about $2,500 from each visitor goes into the room.
1,500.
And not only that, 1,500, yeah. So not only that, we can also give that business to other people too. So when I first started my business, I didn't know anyone. I did my apprenticeship, my trade apprenticeship in Victoria. As I say, I did do a little bit of time in Darwin. I touched on Queensland a few times. I knew a few people down the Gold Coast and up the sunny coast, but in Brisbane, I really didn't know anyone. So what it meant for me was my customers, hey, Nick, do you know an electrician that can put in a PowerPoint? Nick, do you know a computer person that can help me with a new computer, or a web developer, or, someone who does digital marketing, or, I can help with all those things. And most business owners can. But here's the interesting one. I get on average around about 3 to 4 just random text messages a week. So I say to everyone, I know who you need to know. So if you can't think of anyone, think of me and I'll try and put you in contact. I get a couple of, 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 messages a week with the most random things that have absolutely nothing to do with the building trade. Hey, Nick, do you know a divorce lawyer? Yeah, I know 5. Hey, Nick, do you know someone that's in money exchange, international money exchange? Yeah, absolutely I do. I'm a roof tiler, Tony. It's just, I've got connections that are beyond what I actually know. And yeah, it's incredible. So being able to have those connections, and they're sort of, I guess, an attribution of the success within BNI as well.
Fantastic. And how's your business evolved since joining BNI, Nick?
You're looking at the one and only person who did everything at the very start of this business, as per every business, I think. I spoke to a few people, I had a few ideas, and I got my logo done up and the business name, and I just went out and had a go. Funnily enough, I had $12,000 sitting in a separate account that I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a challenge for myself. I'm going to see if I can start a multi-million-dollar business with $12,000 in the account, and just put a challenge out there. Just see if I could. As I say, life's about a little bit of excitement. So, here we go, $12,000, and here we are sitting. I'm sort of on the precipice of looking at, hopefully around about 4.5 to 5 million this year. Nearly $1 million of that is this year, thanks to BNI. I just, at the recent awards, I just got my $1 million Givers badge, which is incredible. So, in terms of growth, it's insane. And I mean, I'm looking at you through a webcam that I got from someone in the chapter. I'm looking at you on a computer that I got from someone in the chapter. I'm sitting in an office that the commercial real estate agent that used to be in our chapter got me.
Yeah.
Everything within what I'm doing is really helpful, and everyone's always helpful and willing to lend advice. We're 50 business owners at different stages of our business that, or if your chapter's 20 or 25, whatever it may be, every single person in that room has either been where you are or is growing to become where you are, and we can all help. And look, yes, okay, my specialty is roof tiling. My passion is business and networking. So
Fantastic. What advice would you give to new BNI members, Nick, to make the most out of their membership?
Oh, very easy. Get out there. Get to every single possible social event you possibly can. I know some of them are hard. On a Friday night at 5 o'clock, you don't want to go anywhere and go out for a dinner or anything, but sometimes that's the connection that you actually need. Life does get in the way, but if you can get to them, get to your contacts for your meetings, they're fantastic as well. Obviously, if you are new in the chapter and you don't know anyone, the best way of getting to know people is just be raw and honest with all the people in the chapter, and stand up at the end of the chapter when there's special announcements and say, I have 45 minutes at the end of this meeting. Someone come and sit down, have a coffee and a one-to-one with me. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. No one's going to laugh at you. And the one thing that I haven't touched on, you are the specialist in your industry. No one's going to laugh at you because, hey, we're all here for the same reason. We all want to see each other, succeed. But you're the only one in the room that knows your industry as well as you know it. Be confident, love it, and love the people in the room, and that'll be reciprocated.
What's next for your business, Nick? Have you got any exciting projects or expansions coming up?
I don't have any expansions. Tony, you've asked me at a very interesting time, to be honest. Just because we are so busy at the moment, we're booking late into May at the moment. So we're sort of 8 weeks away. I do like to try and keep my business 4 to 5 weeks in front of ourselves. Being sort of nearly 8 weeks is a little bit much for us. So yeah, look, we are always looking for good quality roof tilers, guys that actually want to get out there and be part of a team and really buy into what I've set this business up to be, which is just straightforward, honest advice, because there's too many people in my industry that are doing the wrong thing and ripping people off, which really disappoints me. So I'm trying to put that out there, and we're trying our best to make sure that we're continuing down that path. So roof tilers, vehicles, men on the road, essentially, or people on the road, I should say. There are a few female roof tilers out there. So people on the road and yeah, just slowly growing at a steady rate without sort of shooting it out of the water, because there will be a quiet time again.
And how do you see your relationship with BNI evolving as your business grows, Nick?
Look, each year, as I say, I'm on membership committee, and each year I see and I talk to people about their 7-month review, how it's going for them. I do 12-month renewals and all that sort of stuff, and there's people there that it's funny. I have the conversation. I love it. Like, I love BNI, and I have the conversation, it's taking up too much of my time, or I'm not getting out of it what I thought I would get out of it, or, my circumstances have changed to, a regular one as well. But I always encourage the second and third year. Now, for me, it was a no-brainer. I think I turned over $30,000 in my first year of BNI, which is pretty incredible for a first year, but I'm a trade-based business, so a lot of tradies will do that. My second year was 60, my third year was 125, my fourth year was 250, and it just went, I've tried to double every year. Now, my membership is just a no-brainer every year. if I said to you, Tony, here's a bill for $2,000. I'm going to give you $1 million back for being able to hang around with your mates at the end of the year. What would you say? Of
Not
course
about
you.
ROI, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're around about that. It's not quite $2,000, but by the time you put your time, your effort, and I don't see it as time and effort. When I wake up at 4:30 on a Wednesday morning, I mean, no one likes waking up early. Even if you're an early bird, you don't like waking up early some mornings, especially in the middle of winter. But, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. Wednesdays is just BNI. I just do BNI on Wednesdays. It is part of my regime. Waking up and doing it with the people that I'm in the room with and seeing all the faces. Some people are standing there with their coffee going, oh my God, how did I get out of bed? Other people are standing there with a great big smile on your face. All of a sudden you come together, you act the clown, you have a bit of fun, and everyone's smiling. So I can't see my Wednesdays for, at least the foreseeable future getting any different. Plus we've got a couple of people in the room that are, I think, 15 and 16 year members. So I've got to, even after they leave, I've got to stick around for another 8 years to beat them. So
You got to hold the record, hey?
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. Look, even if it wasn't the financial side of things, it is that friendly advice and help from people in the same position. Yes, financial, definitely, it always comes into it, but yeah, it's definitely, it's like going to a family every Wednesday morning and, calling people that were in the chapter or left 2 or 3 years ago. Hey, I've got this that I need help with, or, I know that you spoke to me once about this, and you do keep up with people, and yeah, it's an amazing, it's amazing for that. So yeah, no, I'm sticking around, not going anywhere, Tony.
Well, that's amazing. I often hear people describe it as, I come to BNI for the referrals, for the commercial reality, but I stick around for the friendships and the relationships that I've built along that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Now,
They're my friends. I don't want to leave them.
now,
Plus, imagine how boring it would be without them. No, I'm kidding.
too funny. Mate, if you could share one piece of wisdom with our listeners or our viewers, now remembering that some people watching us or listening to us are not from BNI, so what would that piece of wisdom be?
As I say, as you said, it's maybe not specifically to do with BNI, but I've been sort of thinking about this and agonising over this question. I just thought I'd bring it back to something my dad used to always say to me when I was growing up, and it really has stuck with me, and it always continues to stick to me. It's very simple. You can do anything you set your mind to. You really can, you can't become a monkey or anything, but if you if you do, if you've got a dream and you want to do it, absolutely you can do it. If you say, right, I'm going to stick out, for example, I'm going to stick out BNI and it's going to help my business do A, B, and C, write it down. You really can do it. If you direct it toward, direct your mind and your thoughts and everything you've got, you really can do whatever you want to get to. So that's been something that I've followed all these years and something that I'm going to follow for many, many more to come. And I know you asked for one thing, Tony, but I also
keep going, mate. Keep going.
You've got to be there. There's no point being an average person. I've got a different way of saying that, but we are staying PG. You can be a really good person, and it's not hard. It's actually easier to be friendly and easier to smile. Than be angry or be upset. Every single possibility, every single option that comes towards you, or every single problem that happens, there's a way of solving it in a really friendly, happy manner. And that's something that I think too many people forget in this world. So in my life, just be friendly, just be a good person, be friendly, and try your best.
Wonderful advice, mate. And I think, with the second point you made, which is we all have a choice, right? And you're choosing to be happy and positive and optimistic. So well done to you. Nick, how can listeners learn more about your business or get in touch with you?
Well, I've got a few ways of getting in touch with us. Obviously, we've got the website, weatherproof.net.au. We are on Instagram, and the one where I do put quite a few videos up regularly, just of, you'll see my pretty face on the roof doing some educational videos. So Facebook, just Weatherproof Restorations. Like the page, share it. It's always handy. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Well, that wraps up another episode of the BNI Effect. I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion, and I want to extend a massive heartfelt thank you to Nick Parry for sharing his insights with us. If you found value in today's episode, then don't forget to subscribe to the BNI Effect on your favorite podcast platform, and please leave us a review. Thank you for listening.